Okay, you are now live. Thank you.
Thanks for the help. Thank you for the technology boost. Much appreciated. Welcome, everyone. It is Wednesday, April 13th at 5:08 p.m. It is the regular meeting of the governing body being conducted virtually. Councillor Cassett is excused for this evening, so we are playing with one person fewer than ordinary. That we are now come to order. If we could begin with the Pledge of Allegiance led by Councillor Rivera, salute to the New Mexico flag led by Councillor Chavez, and invocation followed by remembrances led by Councillor Lindell. Please, as you are able, please rise for the pledges.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I salute the flag of the state of New Mexico and the Zia symbol of perfect friendship among united cultures.
God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Mayor, I'll turn it over to you for remembrances.
Thank you, Councillor. Anybody wants to remember somebody, please just raise your hand and I will call on you as I see a hand. If we don't have any hands tonight, let's bow our heads and think about people we've lost locally. Think about the people in Ukraine who are suffering unspeakable horrors. Think about all of our family and friends and how fortunate we are to live in the blessed city of Santa Fe. Thanks, everybody. Madam Clerk, if you could please call the roll.
Yes, Mayor Weber.
Present.
As you noted, Councillor Cassett is excused. Councillor Chavez. Councillor Chavez.
Here.
Okay, thanks. Councillor Lee Garcia.
Present.
Councillor Michael Garcia.
Present.
Councillor Lindell.
Here.
Councillor Rivera.
Here.
Councillor Merworth.
Here.
Councilwoman Villarreal.
Present.
You have a quorum, Mayor.
Thank you. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda, please?
Move to approve.
Second.
Second.
I heard a motion from Councillor Lindell and a second from Councillor Michael Garcia. Madam Clerk, can you call the roll?
Yes. Councillor Chavez.
Yes.
Councillor Lee Garcia.
Yes.
Councillor Michael Garcia.
Yes.
Councillor Lindell.
Yes.
Councillor Rivera.
Yes.
Councillor Merworth.
Yes.
Councilwoman Villarreal.
Yes.
Mayor Weber.
Yes,
Motion has been approved.
thank you. I did not get any advance notification of things to be removed from the consent agenda. Can we get a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Move to approve. Second.
There's a motion to approve from Councillor Lindell and a second from Councillor Merworth. If there's no discussion, Madam Clerk, can you call the roll?
Yes. Councillor Lee Garcia.
Yes.
Councillor Michael Garcia.
Yes.
Councillor Lindell.
Yes.
Councillor Rivera.
Yes.
Councillor Merworth.
Yes.
Councilwoman Villarreal.
Yes.
Councillor Chavez.
Yes.
Mayor Weber.
Yes,
Motion has been approved.
thank you, Madam Clerk. If you could take us to item 8A, we'll go into presentations.
Yes, item 8A is the fiscal year 21 audit status update. This is presented by Mary McCoy, our finance director, and Ricky Barajandro, our accounting officer.
Director McCoy, you have the floor.
Hi, everyone. From budget to audit today, we're covering the full spectrum. I am happy to report to the full governing body, as we did at the Finance Committee a few weeks ago, that the city has submitted the SEFA, the Schedule of Expenditures of Federal Awards, on March 16th. That then kicked off what we call the single audit over federal awards. The major programs for the federal audit have been established, and we have been fielding questions for almost a month now regarding those major federal programs. The city also submitted the trial balance on March 31st, and the city staff immediately then began meeting with our auditor the day after on April 1st. City staff in the finance department, as well as all other departments, are responding to auditor requests for information, as is typical during this stage of the process. That being said, joining us today is Mr. Bejarano, our city's chief accounting officer, and he will be the main point of contact to coordinate all audit activity from now until the submission of the final audit report to the state auditor's office. With that, Mr. Mayor and members of the governing body will stand for questions.
Thank you. Please just raise a hand, virtual or real, and I'll call on you if you want to raise a question about audit and where we stand with the submittal that's already gone forward. I don't see any hands, Director McCoy. I think.
May I have a quick question?
Councilor Rivera, you have the floor.
Excuse me. And I think I had talked to Ms. McCoy about this before, but really it's capital purchases and tracking when vehicles are transferred to other departments, or I don't know if we've sent anything to auction during the 2-year COVID period. So we've been pretty successful in reconciling all that.
Mr. Mayor, Councilor Rivera, yes, that falls under our capital assets and what is disposed of and what is what we retain or transfer to another division or department. That being said, one of our contractors that we've hired to assist us through this process was responsible for the capital assets reconciliation for fiscal year 21. So any changes, additions, subtractions, if you will, would have been reflected through that process. And part of the submission to the auditor with the trial balance on March 31st for the period of the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2021.
Were there any assets that had to be just written off because we couldn't track them down?
Mr. Mayor, Councilor, I would have to defer that question to Ricky. And actually, I think, why don't we look into that? We can get back to you with a specific list. At this point, I don't have that information readily available.
Okay. And I just asked because it's been an issue in the past, and I know it can be difficult to keep track of all that. So just curious.
Yeah,
thank you.
That was, yeah, I think you're referencing an audit finding from a few years ago, maybe FY17 or so. So we'll go ahead and get you that information, Councilor.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Any other questions about audit related matters? Very good. Thank you for the update. I think, Mr. City Manager, what is the frequency going to be of our audit updates going forward now that these documents have been turned over? Are we going to continue the same frequency or change to a different frequency?
Mr. Mayor, members of the governing body, good evening to all of you. Director McCoy and I have had some initial conversations. I think we are intending to, if Director McCoy hasn't already, communicate with Chairwoman Romero-Worth about whether we would, I think what I would like to see is some sort of a monthly update, at least through the submittal of the FY22 audit, and whether that should be done here at the governing body or at the Finance Committee meetings remains to be seen. But I do want to commend Ms. McCoy and our CAO Bejarano and Secretary Woodruff and the whole team about really fixing the car while we're driving it and making a number of really important changes that will guarantee that our FY22 audit's going to be on time. And so I'm grateful for them doing all this good work. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Councilor Michael Garcia.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I guess I would just put in the request that updates be given to the governing body at least monthly until we get the submittal of the fiscal year 22 audit. Given the history of the lateness of the audits, as we just went through this recent update, what was it, 5 minutes? And I think we can entertain a 5-minute update at a monthly at minimum for future meetings. I think if we bi-weekly is probably not necessary, but at minimum monthly, I think it's, for the 3 members of the governing body that don't sit on finance to have to either attend finance committee meeting or review after the fact. I think that's a little cumbersome to ask and unfair. So that's just my request, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Any other hands to go up? Very good. Thank you very much for the presentation, and we will move forward. Madam Clerk, what's the next item on the agenda?
Mayor, we have no action items on the agenda, so at this time we'll move to matters from the city manager.
Mr. City Manager, you have the floor.
I usually take a few hours to prepare my agenda, Mr. Mayor. We're moving so quickly tonight. Mr. Mayor, members of the governing body, thank you for your time. We've been very, very busy with the FY23 budget process that consumed the vast majority of my time and the time of our senior staff. So thank you for your questions, for your comments, through all that you're contributing to this dialogue as we move forward with the budget process. We're grateful for that. I do want to flag, I think our city clerk will speak to this more, but thank you to all of you who came and participated in the mental health and wellness luncheon that we had a few weeks ago. We felt like it was really a really extraordinary success, got a lot of positive feedback from staff. Clearly the depths of anxiety and agita and depression and grief that our community is feeling right now is not going to be cured by one lunch. But it sure was great to see a lot of faces in person, to get to meet people in person. I felt a lot of camaraderie amongst the team. While I did not get to enjoy my own free chair massage, I did see long lines of city employees getting chair massages and getting gifts. And if nothing else, it was just a really extraordinary way for Team Santa Fe to get to spend an afternoon together. So thank you all for your support of that event. Same time, I, through photos, see that many of you were at the Easter egg hunt last Saturday. I was there with my dogs and didn't get to see most of you except for Councilor Lindell, but outside of that, got to see a lot of City of Santa Fe employees there with their kids. And it just was an amazing thing to get to see so many people excited. And I never thought I would see 500 children clean up 1,400 eggs or 14,000 eggs in 90 seconds. those eggs sure went fast, but was a really extraordinary event. Clearly overtook Santa Fe's Marigold Park and Chaparral Elementary School parking lot and every side street in between, but thought that was really an extraordinary event. So for both of those, huge thanks to our city clerk and her public engagement team for making such a huge thing happen so seamlessly and so extraordinarily. And with the luncheon, thanked our city clerk's team and HR director, Bernadette Salzar's team for making that happen as well. So grateful for all of that. And that's all I have for tonight, Mr. Mayor. Thank you all.
Thank you, Mr. City Manager. Madam Clerk, what happens? We're going to City Attorney, matters from the City Attorney.
Matters from the city attorney is up next.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Weber, members of the governing body. I have a couple updates. One is about resolution 2022-1, which was our joint resolution with the county about discussing matters that were still pending related to our prior annexation agreements. April 13th was the date we were going to give an update, and we are going to need additional time. We've had a number of meetings. We're making progress. And Councilors Lindell and Cassett, I think, are going to be coming back with proposals in the future if we get buy-in from the county. So we're about to start talking about very specific principles to see if we can get agreement, but we've been going through a lot of background and making sure we're all on the same page about the open issues up until now and the needs and wants of each of the jurisdictions. So I think we're making great progress there. I did get a chair massage at the Health and Wellness Day. Thank you, City Manager. I got to meet the naturopaths. And let's see, I will be sending out a litigation update, the quarterly litigation update next week. And I think it just depends on what we think the agenda will look like, either the 27th or the first meeting in May, as to when we'll do an executive session review of those matters. So certainly once I send out that update, let me know if there's any particular matters that the council would like me to focus on. Then also we sent out guidance this week to all the boards and commissions in the city about transitioning back to in-person. So we are starting to work through the logistics of that. And that's all I've got. Thank you.
Thank you. Matters from the city clerk. City clerk.
Yes, and I apologize. We're still having some technical issues, so I don't have a camera because I'm unable to join as a panelist. Not sure what's going on, but regardless, I will just note that as City Manager Blair mentioned, I do want to thank everyone that participated in the Easter egg hunt. That is definitely one of the largest events my team coordinates. It is thousands of humans descending upon Regal Park all at the same time, and then a million Easter eggs, actually 14,000, but we had 4,000 items per filled. And I really can't stress the coordination and efforts of our entire department to pull that off, along with volunteers. It is not an easy task, so I appreciate it. And really the Touch the Truck event has added so much, and I think that's just been a great addition to the event. So it was really nice having everybody there for that, as well as fire at the library. And then we had an additional coloring table as well from my staff. So again, I just want to thank my team and everyone who brought a vehicle. We had ESD, streets. It was great. I also, I think, mentioned earlier, have with some of you individually, but also want to note that we are working on a language accessibility study right now, which is, I think, long overdue. And I know some counselors have been requesting, I think since they joined our city council for this type of request. This has been done in collaboration with our community services department as well. So Julie Sanchez and I have been working hard on this and really look forward to what comes from that, as well as the community engagement guide. We're also working with a local individual on that as well. So just want to note those. My team is also working on a new city website. It's been a huge project, but we look forward to launching that hopefully in the coming weeks, as well as a style guide for the entire city. I want to thank all the counselors for their patience as we did our annual CRM upgrade, and we continue to work through the large volume of requests that we're getting every single day. And lastly, Attorney McSherry noted that we are working through the logistics of coming back to in-person. I worked on the logistics to get us remote. I know some of you remember the very first meeting we've come such a long way since then. And now we're about to go back to in-person. So fun times. And I greatly appreciate Councillor Rivera offered to have a trial run meeting of Public Works Utilities in person May 9th in advance of governing body as a test run. So I appreciate that, Councillor Rivera. And that's about what I have.
Thank you. That's a lot. Communications from the governing body. Let's go around the Zoom board. And as you appear on my screen, Councillor Michael Garcia, you are in the upper left-hand corner.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It was great to see everybody this weekend. City Manager Blair must have been your doppelganger that I was chatting with, because it was great. But it's great to see you meet the new pup. touched the trucks. It was cool. I mean, I don't think I've ever wanted to drive one of those big fire trucks. So I was eager. I mean, it was awesome to see that. One thing I did learn was that you can't stop kids from hunting eggs. If they're ready to go, they're go. I think it was on the 9 and 10-year-old fields where my daughter was hunting. There was an erroneous horn, and they weren't supposed to hunt, but by golly, once they heard a horn, you couldn't stop that group of kids from hunting. But it was awesome to see them having fun. It was a great event, and then followed up with the Little League ceremonies later on that day. So kudos around to everybody involved, and just want to thank staff for everything. I do want to tell everybody, please stay safe in regards to, you see the high winds. You know, there's a couple of forest fires we got going on in our state right now, and it's really critical that we ensure that we're keeping each other safe and doing everything we can to keep our forests safe. So do what you can. It's dry. And lastly, just happy Easter and happy Passover weekend to everybody. I hope you enjoy your time with your families and little ones, and hopefully the Easter Bunny treats everybody well, and maybe might be some golden eggs out there for some kiddos. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Counselor, thank you. Counselor Rivera, you are next on the screen, sir.
I have nothing this evening, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Counselor Lee Garcia.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just also wanted to give kudos to all those that organized the event this weekend, and it was amazing to see so many people down at Rego enjoying the beautiful weather. Not only the
You're breaking up on us a little bit, Counselor. You want me to come?
Easter, I apologize. Yeah.
Let me see if your technology cleans up a little bit, and we'll go around to some other squares. Be right back in a minute. Councilwoman Villarreal, you are next on the screen. You have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor. Just wanted to also give a shout out to the Community Engagement Department team for their organizing and their hosting and all around good job of the Easter egg hunt and the Touch the Big Truck. As we said, the attendance was impressive. So many excited kids and families. And I did appreciate the time that other staff took to be there. Parks and Streets, Environmental Services, PD, Fire. It was really cool to actually talk to staff we don't normally get to talk to. And so that was really a special treat. And the other thing I want to mention, because I did go with my mom to the event, we walked over from her house and she asked me to ask you all if they could have a Golden Girls egg hunt for those that are older, 70 years and above. And I'm like, I don't know. Maybe we could. She was so wanting to participate, but she really had a good time. So, and the DJ, by the way, was awesome. So whoever that DJ, I forgot her name. I met her, but she's excellent. And if we ever have another city event, we should use her. So thank you.
Nice. Counselor Lee Garcia, let's come back and try it again. See if the voice works.
Let's see, is that a little better?
Excellent, sir.
Right. I just wanted to again shout out to all the people involved from the Easter egg hunt. I was saying that I kind of missed my my kids being that age, watching everybody have so much fun and all together. And then the shout out to the Little League coordinators. It was a wonderful event. A lot of people out there enjoying the beautiful weather. So thanks for inviting me all, and that's all I have. Thanks.
Thank you. Counselor Chavez, what have you got for us?
Thank you, Mayor. I too want to thank the community engagement team for the Easter egg hunt, but I want to give a special shout out to Christine, our wonderful city clerk. The work she does for the city is very impressive. She does a lot of work, but then she is also very supportive if any of us call onto her. But on top of that, she also gives back to the community. And I think it's just so important when we have leaders who still find time to give any way they can during their free time. It just shows how deeply rooted they are in their community, and that's what builds great communities. So the fact that she's someone that, our community members have to look up to is a great thing. So thank you, Christine, for all you do. I also want to give it a shout out to Santa Fe Little League, but we have a lot of great programs out there that really bring our community together. And I know Counselor Lee Garcia has been at a few of them, representing our leadership, which I also appreciate. But when we take time and actually see what some of our community members are doing and getting kids opportunities to be productive and healthy and successful, and getting parents there to be supportive, there's just a lot of really positive things occurring. And I think what we witnessed at Santa Fe Little League opening day was, a reminder of that. So if you find time, you probably could go to any field and find a bunch of community members celebrating kids, which is my favorite thing. So I want to thank everyone that is part of that works hard to make that happen. It was after Saturday, I felt very grateful for the people we're surrounded by here in Santa Fe. So I just want to emphasize my appreciation of that. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Lindell.
Thank you, Mayor. I don't have anything this evening, but thank you.
Thank you. Counselor Mayor Worth.
Thank you, Mayor. I don't have anything either. Just congratulations to the community engagement team and happy Easter Passover to everybody. Thank you.
Thank you. I have a few things. I neglected to, when we were doing remembrances, I neglected to send condolences to the governor who lost her mom. And we all know moms are special, and we really appreciate all the work the governor does for the rest of us, but we ought to take a minute and send thoughts and prayers to her and her family on that loss. It's hard when you're working that hard as an elected official, and then all of a sudden life intervenes and your mom is gone. So to the governor, from all of us, I'm sure, condolences and wishes for family time and coming together to heal and remember her mom. You guys have hit some good positive notes. The Easter egg hunt was spectacular. The Little League opening ceremony was tremendous fun, and it was great to see Daniel Diaz and the aforementioned Christine Bustos-Mihelsic being coaches, running the bases with their teams, not only organizing events, but coaching people. And I think the city clerk goes down in history as having one of her ball players, a young boy, saying to her, "Coach, you're the only girl on our team." So Christine, she plays a lot of different positions for the city of Santa Fe, including head coach and mentor to young baseball players. I went between the Easter egg hunt and the Little League opening day ceremonies. I had the honor to attend the 80th anniversary of the surrender of our troops at Bataan. And I really want to say to everybody in our community, the folks who tend to go to that every year are the families of the men who survived, most of whom have now passed away, the families of men who didn't survive, other military folks. If you catch the invitation next year, please do go. It is a Santa Fe ceremony and a Santa Fe tradition that needs to be remembered, celebrated, and carried on as something quite special for our community, and a very moving ceremony. So thank you for everybody who made that happen, and for the men and women who are in service now, who are carrying on that tradition. Best wishes to Catherine Miller as she steps down as the county manager after a distinguished career and a great run as the county manager and a partner with the city, and good wishes to Greg Schaefer, who will be assuming that responsibility. I gathered that the county commission voted him to be the new county manager, and I know we'll be working together for the good of everybody in Santa Fe County. One last recognition I'm actually going to do a little reading because I want to get it right. Just announced this week, Alicia Gettler, a member of the Boys and Girls Club of Santa Fe, was named the 2022 State Youth of the Year. Alicia is a true example of an extraordinary young woman recognized by the Boys and Girls Clubs of America for her sound character, leadership skills, and willingness to give back to her community. She competed against other Boys and Girls Club teens from Las Cruces, Albuquerque, and Farmington, and emerged as the state winner. She was awarded a $2,500 scholarship fund, and she now goes on to represent New Mexico at the Southwest Regional Conference in Dallas in June. She and representatives from 7 other states will compete for a $40,000 college scholarship and a chance to move forward to the national competition. The National Youth of the Year receives a $100,000 college scholarship and an opportunity to meet and be recognized by the President of the United States. Alicia truly embodies what it means to be Youth of the Year. She's a young woman who cares deeply about her community, as well as her education, health, and leadership. In 2021, Alicia spoke to the press and the public about the importance of programming for teens on the South Side at our groundbreaking ceremony for the Teen Center. She's a student leader at Monte del Sol Charter School, where she advocates for greater mental health awareness among young people, and she plans on attending UNM in the fall, where she'll pursue a degree in music education. So congratulations to her. It's a big deal. It's a big win. Takes a lot of courage to put yourself out there and do the work to compete on top of taking care of all your other responsibilities, and couldn't be prouder of her and her family and the Boys and Girls Club for the great work they do on behalf of our community. So that concludes my comments for this evening.
Mayor,
Madam, yes, Madam, I'm sorry, Councilor Lindell, my bad.
yeah, Mayor, if I could just have a moment. I did have something that I wanted to bring to the council's attention as well as the public's attention. I had received an email and I want to read, it's a short email. On the afternoon, early evening of April 1st, 2022, as you are all aware, the home of retired Assistant Fire Chief Ted Bollitter suffered a catastrophic fire, resulting in a total loss of the structure. What you may not be aware of is the true act of heroism, clear-headedness, and unselfishness exhibited by one of the occupants of the dwelling. Miss Sophia Gonzalez, age 10, and a student at Amy Beale Elementary, acted with true poise and heroism as she secured the exit of not only herself, but her little brother Nathan, age 6. His quote was, "She actually pushed me out of the house and I didn't like it." And her 2-year-old cousin, Layla Baca. She carried Layla to safety. So we have heroes amongst us. And we're very, very thankful that the entire family survived. We know that Ted had some burns, but he's going to be okay. So hats off to you, Miss Sophia Gonzalez. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilor. And Councilor Villarreal, you have your hand up.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Councilor Lindell. That was actually something I was going to add to our recognition and recognize Sophia Gonzalez and her bravery. And she's a hero to many people, and I appreciate what she did for her family, and just sending a lot of love and support to the family as they try to restructure their lives. And so just thank you for remembering. I think the mayor was also going to add to this story. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you all. You all are, we got the same email and we have the same response, which is that's the kind of amazing in the moment heroism that deserves recognition. In addition to being written up in the paper, if we were meeting in person, we'd have a certificate in her honor to present, because she definitely deserves a tremendous round of applause and acknowledgement for what she did in a moment of sheer, what I would have experienced as sheer terror. She rose to the occasion and saved lives. Councillor Lee Garcia.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I failed to remember to give a shout out to Northern New Mexico Sports League and Zeke Villegas. That was the event. They happened a couple weekends ago, and their flag football and ceremonies. And I got there, and there was 2,000 people out at Cesar Chavez, I think, Ortiz Middle School football field, and it was amazing to see our communities come together and be out there as well. So I did welcome them all on behalf of the city, and want to give a shout out to them providing things for our youth to be involved in. Thanks.
Thank you, everybody. All right, good job. Madam Clerk, where do we go now?
We go to introduction of legislation. So we have item 15A. It's introduction of a resolution by Councilor Rivera. It's a resolution of.
Could I interrupt, please?
Yeah, of course.
Thank you. I had numerous, 2 or 3 conversations with City Attorney McSherry this week regarding the introductions. And when the legislation was put on the website, it was only the captions. And according to our fairly recently passed governing body procedural rules, I don't know if you all have them, but I'll read the quick part. It's under legislative process, and for introductions, number 3, it says, in order to be introduced, legislation must be fully drafted and included in the packet posted with the governing body's agenda. I don't know that I feel like this is a huge big deal, but I don't want us to get into a habit of not posting the legislation with the agenda when we do it. I'm not trying to hold people's legislation up. So what I'm going to do, Mayor, is to ask that we this evening waive, it would be section of the adopted governing body procedural rules. It would be section 4A3. So I'm making that as a motion.
Is there a second? I'll second it. The city attorney's hand is up to help us through this.
And Mayor Weber, Councilor Lindell, I was just going to say that certainly that rule could be interpreted that way. So there's no problem. I don't think there's any problem with the motion being made, and I have no concerns with it. I had put out there that I don't know that it needs to be made, but certainly I absolutely support it being made as well. So I just wanted to make that clear.
Thank you. My concern with this is that if we don't hold ourselves to that standard, that we will allow ourselves to get into habits that we did in the past, where we got ahead of ourselves with legislation that wasn't completely drafted, and that the captions would go up and we didn't have any attached legislation with it. And I think it's important that we be able to read the caption and read the legislation. And that's why I'm asking for a waiver of the rules.
And I support it as a good housekeeping measure. I think we can just, I read this city attorney's email that seemed to suggest it wasn't absolutely necessary, but if it adds some clarity to what we're doing, I find that helpful. Councilwoman Villarreal, your hand is up. You have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor. I completely agree with Councilor Lindell and the concerns about that, setting bad precedent. However, I don't understand the waiver, because then that to me sounds like a bad precedent where this may happen and then we just have a waiver every single time this potentially could happen. So that's why I wouldn't support the waiver, but I completely agree about having the packet material for introduction of items that are new and making sure that we follow that new procedure.
I see Councilor Lindell's hand is up.
So if you don't want to support a waiver, then it would mean that we don't introduce them. I'm just trying to set us on the right path. If we don't, you're right, we could have a waiver every meeting, which we don't want to have. But if we don't do that, then there's nothing to remind people that these need to go together.
I see the city attorney's hand is up.
Mayor Weber, councilors, I would just add that either way that you interpret this rule, whether or not it's a needed waiver or not, it is absolutely an improvement over the prior process, which was that there was not an attachment when the agenda was posted or when the introduction occurred, and usually there was not any legislation even written at that time. In this case, it's a significant improvement over our prior process, which is this legislation is drafted, it is included in the packet, and it already has been signed off on and drafted, and there's already an FIR and a memo. Whereas before we had to try to scramble to get one between the time it was introduced and the time it first went to committee, which was why we didn't necessarily get the committee schedule correct when it was introduced. We wouldn't necessarily know the complexity of the introduction because we might not have even seen it yet. Or I oftentimes had not seen it yet in order to review it.
Yeah, to be clear, the packet now is complete. It just wasn't at the time that the items were posted on Friday. So Councilor Lindell is simply trying to give us no ambiguity about whether or not we are permitted to introduce these bills tonight. Any further discussion? Madam Clerk, can you call the roll on the motion to make, in this case, a waiver to our newly adopted procedures so that we can introduce these bills without any ambiguity?
Yes, Councilor Michael Garcia,
Yes.
Councilor Lindell,
Yes.
Councilor Rivera,
Yes.
Councilor Merworth,
Yes.
Councilwoman Villarreal,
I'll abstain.
Councilor Chavez,
Yes.
Councilor Lee Garcia,
Yes.
and Mayor Weber.
Yes.
Motion has been approved.
Okay, and I take Councilwoman Villarreal's caution, which is we don't want to get in the habit of using waivers to make up for bad behavior. Duly noted and approved and agreed with. So with that said, Madam Clerk, can you read item 15A, and then Councilor Rivera would have a chance to speak to the bill he's introducing?
Yes, item 15A is an introduction of a resolution presented by Councilor Rivera. It's a resolution requesting a time extension for a local government transportation fund grant agreement from the New Mexico Department of Transportation, identified as control number LP50008 for the planning, design, and pavement rehabilitation of Guadalupe Street Bridge. There's also an item A1, which is a request for approval of amendment number 1 to a local government transportation fund grant agreement. This is item 20-0095 with the New Mexico Department of Transportation for the planning, design, and pavement rehabilitation of the LP50008 Guadalupe Street Bridge Rehabilitation Project amendment for its extension of agreement term only to June 30th, 2023 with no additional funding.
And under our new procedures, Councilor Rivera, you have the floor to give us a quick introduction of your resolution.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. First, I would like to apologize to Councilwoman Lindell and Councilwoman Villarreal. I had been speaking to Romela about an extension for South Meadows and Agua Fria, and this one came up, and I told her I would sponsor this one as well. My assumption is that she would have communicated with the two of you to see if you also wanted a co-sponsor. So I apologize that you weren't on the front end of that. And then I don't see the South Meadows Agua Fria one on here, so I'm gonna have to touch base with Romela. But I think it's pretty self-explanatory. This has been a project for a while, and really, if the councilwomen from District 1 would like to be the primary sponsors, I don't mind moving down on that list. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Counselor. Could you take us to the next item, Madam Clerk?
Yes, the next item is item B. It's an introduction of a resolution presented by Councilor Rivera. It's a resolution authorizing the sale and consumption of alcohol at Santa Fe Adult Soccer League's annual Party on the Pitch tournament to be held at the MRC field on June 4th and 5th of 2022. The request is pursuant to section 23-6.2 SFCC 1987, which does require adoption of a resolution for events on public property, not specifically stated in paragraph A of that section.
Councilor Rivera, you, sir.
Thank you, Mayor. I've been a strong supporter of soccer, kids soccer, all the way up to adult soccer for some time, and was approached about this and was very happy to sponsor this event and the resolution. Again, I think I'm glad that we're getting back into many of these events and many of these outdoor things that have been missing from our community for a while. So happy to sponsor.
Thank you, sir. Next item, please, Madam Clerk.
Yes, this is introduction of a bill. It's presented by Mayor Weber, Councilor Romero Worth, Councilor Garcia, and Councilor Lindell. It's an ordinance amending section 10-5.2 SFCC 1987 to add an enforcement reference, amending section 10-5.3 to add and amend definitions, just repealing section 10-5.4 regarding notice, amending section 10-5.6 to clarify to what types of vehicles the junk vehicle ordinance applies, amending section 10-5.8 to update the effective date of the ordinance and allow a 2-year assessment, and amending subsection 14-6.3b to specify vehicle parking and storage requirements.
Thank you. I'm gonna, under our procedures, I'm only one of a number of people who are sponsoring this, so I'm gonna pass the baton to my co-sponsors if they'd like to speak to what this is about. I think there's a provision for a brief comment from each of us. Councilor Mayorworth, you want to go first?
Sure, Mayor. This, as is noted, is a collaboration. I think this is an example of what happens when constituents write us about concerns in the community. We got a number of emails on this topic and started to look into it, and with the group of sponsors, looked at what our ordinances say. We looked at what other communities do. We met with code enforcement to understand what issues they were having and what would help them. And I think I would draw your attention to the memo, which says that we also received constituent services, received 183 unsightly yard or nuisance blighted property complaints through the CRM system in one 12-month period, April 2020 to April 2021. Many of these complaints are related to junk vehicles, unruly parking debris, litter, and other kinds of blight that create eyesores for neighbors and depreciate housing values. And I think this is about concern for neighborhoods and listening to constituents who flag the problem, and we have bring this proposal forward as a way to address the concerns we've been hearing. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Councilor Michael Garcia, you're a co-sponsor. You have a opportunity to add your voice to this bill that you're bringing forward too.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think Councilor Romero Worth covered it very well. Just want to thank my fellow co-sponsors for the collaborative effort on this matter.
Thank you, sir. Councilor Lindell?
Yeah, thank you, Councilor Romero Worth. You really covered all of it. You had the stat sheet in front of you. I didn't have that. It took us a while. I mean, we hashed this out amongst us for a while. And is it perfect? Probably not. Is it way better than what we have now? Pretty sure of that. So I'm looking forward to getting this passed. We spent a lot of time working on it. And thank you, Mayor, for participating in this also.
Thanks, everybody. Well done. Madam Clerk, could you read the next item, please?
Yes, the next item is item D. It's an introduction of a bill. It is sponsored by Councilor Romero Worth and Councilor Cassett. It's an ordinance amending section 20-4.1 to remove reference to remote participation in governing body or city council standing committee meetings and creating a new section 1-9 SFCC 1987 to allow governing body members to attend governing body and city council standing committee meetings remotely.
And we have one of the two sponsors present, I believe. Councilor.
Thank you, Mayor. I think this we've identified as something we might want to have the flexibility to do, especially as we move into this new phase of living with COVID. And I think the idea came because if one of us were to test positive for COVID and want to participate remotely, have the ability, maybe not have very serious symptoms or maybe on the mend, and wanting to participate in the governing body meeting without being a risk to city employees and our colleagues, I think that would qualify as one instance when it would be otherwise difficult or impossible for the member to attend the meeting in person. And in fact, we might want that member to attend remotely. And so that's one way that we might use this and be in compliance with the language that's in the Open Meetings Act that permits it. And we can talk more about that as it moves through committees. So I think I'll leave it there.
Thank you. Next item, Madam Clerk.
Yes, there's a lot of introductions tonight, which sorry, I can't see everyone's face. It's funny kind of reading his voice only, but the last one is item E. It's introduction of bill number 2022. It is presented by Councilor Romero Worth and Councilor Cassett. It's an ordinance relating to the City of Santa Fe Uniform Traffic Ordinance, UTO, creating a new section 5 of Schedule B of the UTO to create the low income financial equity life parking program. And Councilor Romero Worth is the present member.
Councilor Romero Worth, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor. This bill, I am so excited, is finally here for introduction. When I was first elected, 4 years ago now, I was poking around and we've been talking a little bit about the movement across the country to look at government fines and fees and determine whether they are appropriate, whether they contribute to spiraling people into debt, whether they are fair. And I know we have 2 members of the governing body who actually did a boot camp on that. When I was first elected, I was poking around about how we fine and fee people and trying to find something that I thought we could do to do better. And this program happened to be in the top drawer of our parking division director. And I took a look at it and I thought it would be something that would be helpful. And then COVID came, and this legislation has been, it got sidetracked, and now we're back. We're coming back out of COVID, and I'm just thrilled. It has taken 4 years to get here, but this is something that I've been trying to get to this moment for a long time, and so delighted to have it be introduced and to have the opportunity to discuss it more as it moves through committees. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. It is, according to my watch, 6:03 p.m. and we have already arrived at petitions from the floor, which we generally advertise as coming as close to 7 p.m. as possible. I would entertain a motion to put petitions from the floor after we finish some of our, or all of our remaining business, with the expectation that while it still may not be 7 p.m., we may gain some people in the attendee room who expected us to take petitions from the floor closer to 7 p.m.
So moved.
Councilor Michael Garcia, yes, sir.
Thank you. I just want to, I guess, bring to the governing body's attention, there's basically 3 things we've got left: petitions from the floor, public comments on bills, and the appointments. I'm comfortable with moving forward with the appointments, but the public comments on bills, if we told the public that's going to be at 7 or later, I say we move that forward. I say we do the appointments and then recess and come back at 7.
I would open the floor for conversation about whether folks want to take a recess or want to see how long it takes us to get through the other work that's pending. The one thing we put a time peg on is petitions from the floor, which we attempt to be as close to 7 as possible. And I think we should try to respect that if we can. Other comments? Would you like to suspend after we finish the appointments? And then Councilor Lindell, would you like to speak? You have the floor.
Well, some of us have been here since 1 o'clock today. I don't really want to suspend. I'd like to, I'm looking at our agenda and seeing if it does have any times on it, and I don't see that it does. I'm willing to move the agenda around however we would like to, but I would like not to suspend.
Other comments? It's kind of the will of the governing body how to do business here. I think we want to respect public participation to the maximum. We could move from now, change the proposal and move, as Councilor Garcia said, to appointments, and then take stock of where we are when we finish the appointments. And public comment on bills is relatively new feature of our governing body procedures. We could move to that and then come back when we arrive at petitions from the floor. I see Councilman Villarreal is thinking. What are you thinking?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I am a little concerned about the public comment and moving it, because if I was looking at that and I saw the agenda, I'm like, oh, it's after petitions from the floor, then I wouldn't get a chance to comment on it. And I don't know if anyone's going to comment. Maybe we won't have anybody. But to err on the side of caution, I'd rather move to getting the rest of our agenda done, the appointments, and then taking a break before we get into petitions from the floor and public comment on bills. That's just my thought.
I'm
Just in case.
Yeah, I mean, we rarely have the luxury of stopping and having something to eat in the flow of our workload. I'm perfectly comfortable. Let's do the work, talk through the appointments. Let's take a 15 or 20-minute break, bio break, dinner break, come back, take it up in the order of business at that point. We should be, I'm guessing we'll be approaching, if not 7, 6:45, and we can see who's joined us in the attendee room. Just for maximum public participation. So can we get, I know that's not a thing to make a motion around, but can we attempt to do our order of business, which would be to move to the appointments, take a 20-minute break, come back, and then resume with public comment and petitions from the floor, or petitions from the floor and public comment? Does that meet with people's approval? So is there a motion that paraphrases what I just said?
Mr. Mayor, don't we have a motion on the floor already that we'll need to resend?
Yeah, did we have a motion and a second? What did we have? I don't think we got a second.
Mr. Mayor, you're right. It was a motion and then some conversation. So I think
we
the
had a
motion died.
I think there was a motion, and then Councilor Garcia, you held up your hand and you had a recommendation, which we're now discussing. So can somebody,
I'll make a motion, Mr. Mayor.
thank you, please.
I'll make a motion that we move to item number 20 on the agenda, which is appointments. And then we'll reassess the agenda after we conclude with that portion of the agenda.
Is there a second for that motion?
Second.
Okay. Can we call the roll on the motion to move to appointments and then reassess?
Yes, Counselor Lindell,
No.
Counselor Rivera,
Yes.
Counselor Merworth,
Yes.
Councilwoman Villarreal,
Yes.
Counselor Chavez,
Yes.
Counselor Lee Garcia,
Yes.
Counselor Michael Garcia,
Yes.
Mayor Weber.
Yes,
Motion has been approved.
thank you. So we'll move, Madam Clerk, to item 20A, if you could read that to us, please.
Yes, item 20A is appointments for our audit committee. These are presented by Judge Virginia V. Hill, our municipal court judge. At this time, she's recommending appointment of Stephen Johnson with a term expiring in November of 2025, and Randy Grissom with an appointment term expiring in November of 2024.
Can I get a motion?
Move to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Now, I know the judge intended to be with us if she could tonight. She texted me earlier today. She also is dealing with health-related issues, so sends her apologies. I think the process for this is pretty well understood, that the audit committee, the appointment recommendations come from the municipal court judge, and we take them up from her recommendation. And that's how these names were sourced for us. Is there discussion of the motion? Madam Clerk, can you call the roll?
Yes, Counselor Rivera,
Yes.
Counselor Merworth,
Yes.
Councilwoman Villarreal,
Yes.
Counselor Chavez,
Yes.
Counselor Lee Garcia,
Yes.
Counselor Michael Garcia,
Yes.
Counselor Lindell,
Yes.
Mayor Weber.
Yes,
Motion has been approved.
thank you. Madam Clerk, we have item B under the same number.
We do. Item B is appointments for the Santa Fe Film and Digital Media Commission. And we have several appointments and changes in position status. So we have Anna Dara, a change in position status with a term ending in March of 2024. Steve Graham with a change of position status with a term expiring in March of 2024. Alessandra Calsa with an appointment, the term expiring in March of 2024. Jason Ordaz with an appointment, term expiring in March of 2024. Elizabeth Stammer with an appointment, term expiring in March of 2024. Vince Cattleback with an appointment, term expiring in March of 2024. Dinah Taylor with an appointment term expiring in March of 2024, and Jacqueline Frank with an appointment term expiring in March of 2024.
Move to approve.
Second,
Motion to approve and a second. Is there discussion? Councilwoman Villarreal.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just want to note, as I've already brought this to staff, and in general, this applies to all our committees and commissions, just to make sure that we are continuing to strive for diversity, whether it's gender diversity, ethnic diversity. And in this case, I think the Film and Digital Media Commission is doing better around the gender balance. And I would like to see more ethnic diversity when we're considering people and putting out the news that we have vacancies for committees and commissions. Thank you.
Thank you. Other discussion of these appointments? Madam Clerk, can you call the roll, please?
Yes, Councilor Merworth,
Yes.
Councilwoman Villarreal,
Yes.
Councilor Chavez,
Yes.
Councilor Lee Garcia,
Yes.
Councilor Michael Garcia,
Yes.
Councilor Lindell,
yes,
Councilor Rivera,
Yes.
Mayor Weber.
Yes,
Motion has been approved.
thank you. Item C on the same number of our agenda.
Yes, item C is for the Board of Directors of the Northern Rio Grande National Heritage Area, and this is an appointment for Michael Garcia.
Is there a motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
There's a motion and there's a second. Is there discussion about the qualifications of our nominee? Councilwoman Villarreal, do you have questions to ask the nominee? You wish to pepper him with some issues regarding qualifications to serve in this capacity?
I move the previous question.
Oh, madam.
Okay, just joking.
I think we should congratulate Councilor Garcia. I think this is a really good opportunity to represent the city. There was a hang up on this for a while because legislation had not cleared through the Congress with an appropriation to continue this organization's work. And once the legislation cleared and the appropriation was contained therein, there is money to be worked for and sought after. And I think it's great to have Councilor Garcia willing to step up and be our representative on this regional body. And it's very generous of you to sort of take some more time and represent us and try to go into the funding mechanism and see what you can bring home for us. So thank you for doing it. Any other comments or brutal questioning? Madam Clerk, can you call the roll?
Yes, Councilwoman Villarreal,
Yes.
Councilor Chavez,
Yes.
Councilor Lee Garcia,
Yes.
Councilor Michael Garcia,
Yes.
Councilor Lindell,
yes,
Councilor Rivera,
Yes.
Councilor Merworth,
Yes.
Mayor Weber.
Yes.
Motion has been approved.
Thank you. So that completes the appointment section of our agenda, and we are still at 6:17 on the clock, big clock on the wall. What is the will of the governing body? What would you like to do? I think we have competing interests. We want to do our work expeditiously, but we don't want to zone out or prevent participation from any of our community members. I'm open for suggestions.
do we have anyone in the waiting room?
There are 4 attendees, one of whom is we're Madam Clerk, can you query the folks in the waiting room? I think you're one of them, or at least you were.
I was gonna say, Mayor, I can't actually see the waiting room or attendees given my technical issues with Zoom right now. So
I'm seeing somebody named Christine,
that might be me.
seeing Carl Boaz. I'm seeing,
He's our steno.
I know.
Okay.
Seeing a gentleman named Jesse Guillen, who is recently returned from paternity leave. And we have John Archibek.
Yes, and he's backup tech support, sir.
So Counselor Lindell, the short answer is at 6:18 in the evening, it's our team in the attendee room. How would you want, I know the introduction of legislation is, or not the introduction, the public comment on legislation is a new feature. I don't know how many people participate in that in our last couple of meetings. Madam City Attorney, do you have a recommendation or a suggestion?
I just wanted to refresh everyone's memory on the language associated with petitions from the floor. From our new rules, it does say petitions from the floor shall generally be heard at 7 p.m. or as soon thereafter as can be reasonably achieved. Nothing else really has a time associated with it, but that one does.
And I believe I just got a text from the clerk saying we didn't get any written comment this week either. Usually we get a few people who don't or can't access the technology and send written comments to the clerk's office to be included in our materials. There were no written comments for this governing body meeting. I literally am open to anybody's suggestion. Do you want to take a short break and come back in 20 minutes and see if anybody showed up in the attendee room? Counselor Michael Garcia, your hand is up.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion that we take a break until 7 p.m. and return and complete the remainder of our agenda.
Okay, there is a motion that would have us pause for the next 40 minutes and come back at 7. Is there a second?
Second.
Councilor Rivera seconded that motion. Is there discussion? Could the clerk please call the roll on a suspend till 7 p.m. motion?
Yes. Counselor Chavez,
Yes.
Counselor Lee Garcia,
Yes.
Counselor Michael Garcia,
Yes.
Counselor Lindell,
No,
Counselor Rivera,
Yes.
Counselor Romero Worth,
Yes.
Councilwoman Villarreal,
Yes.
Mayor Weber.
Yes.
Motion has been approved.
So Madam Clerk, if you can post a sign on our website, alerting everybody if they come between now and 7 that we're not done. We will be back at 7 to take up both petitions from the floor and public comment on bills. So people don't think they've missed something. We'll be back at 7 p.m. and we'll stand suspended until then. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
(6:59). I feel like we're waiting for the clock to turn to midnight and we all say Happy New Year and sing. All right, 7 p.m. and people are going live. Outstanding. We are live on YouTube. We have rejoined the members of the governing body. And at 7 p.m., we are resuming the business of our regular meeting from April 13th. And we will go now, since it is 7 on the dot, to petitions from the floor. Madam Clerk, you can't see this, but
Actually, I'm back. I was able to fix the technical issue during our break. Yay!
Congratulations.
I'm actually here, see? Anyways, there are no participants in the attendee room at this time. So,
you know, you remind me a little bit about that soccer player over in England who's here, there, and everywhere.
also, I didn't get a chance to note this, but I'm actually the assistant coach for the boys baseball team, Mayor. So I should note I'm the assistant coach because we have council meetings. I actually can't always make the Wednesday night games, but nonetheless, I am the only female on the team. And
did you note that the female coach for the San Francisco Giants was the first base coach on the field last night?
I did not. I actually was at my own game last night, but I will say that my little Lions did win the game last night. So
congratulations. Yeah. All right, we have no petitions from the floor. Madam Clerk, can you take us to item number 17 then, please?
Yes, item number 17 is public comment on bills. The first item is 17A. It's consideration of bill number 2022-6. This is presented by Mayor Weber. It's an ordinance relating to the City of Santa Fe's Office of Economic Development Plan Ordinance. It's SFCC 1987, section 11-11. It's approving and adopting a local economic development project participation agreement between the City of Santa Fe and Earth Traveler Teardrop Trailers, LLC, for design, development, and construction of tenant improvements, lease payments, and expansion of a manufacturing center and silicone vacuum system. It's a local economic development project.
Very good. And this is under the category public comment on bills. Madam Clerk, is there anybody in the attendee room with their hand up who would like to comment on this ordinance?
No, Mayor, there is not.
Very good. Then we will move to 17B.
17B is consideration of a bill. This is presented by Mayor Weber and Councilor Romero Worth. It's an ordinance relating to the City of Santa Fe's Office of Economic Development Plan Ordinance, SFCC 1987, section 11-11, approving and adopting a local economic development project participation agreement between the City of Santa Fe and Beck and Bulow LLC for design, development, and construction of tenant improvements, lease payments, and expansion of a corporate research center. It's a local economic development project as well.
Madam Clerk, same question. Do you see any hands up in the attendee room wishing to speak to this bill?
No, Mayor, there are no hands up.
Very good. In that case, there are no final action on legislation and no public hearings tonight, correct, Madam Clerk?
That is correct, Mayor.
All right. In that case, we have completed our agenda for this evening. I appreciate everybody's good spirit and contributions. And at 7:04,